let's just get right into it. You've probably seen this, right? You've got professionals with pretty much the same experience, but then there's this one group, the Six Sigma black belts. And for some reason, they're consistently pulling in bigger salaries, getting poached by headhunters left and right. So the big question we're tackling today is, what's going on here? Why is there such a massive career gap? Well, it really boils down to what their day-to-day actually looks like. Think about it. On one hand, you've got your typical professional, right? They're kind of stuck in this endless loop, drowning in spreadsheets, constantly putting out fires, and sitting in meetings where everyone's just arguing based on gut feelings. But then, you look at the black belt. They're playing a completely different game. They're up at the strategic level, preventing problems before they even happen. And here's the kicker. They're making every single decision with cold, hard data to back it up.
So what gives? Is it just because they're some kind of statistics genius? Or maybe they're just amazing at making PowerPoint slides? Is that really where all this extra value is coming from?
Yeah, no, not even close. That's a huge misconception, but a common one. The real secret sauce, the reason companies are willing to pay top dollar, it all comes down to two skills that are, frankly, super rare. The first one is something we can call translation power. This is the magic of taking all the chaos and mess of real-world business problems and translating it into the language that executives understand, data and money. And the second skill? Value realization. This isn't just about coming up with good ideas, it's about actually seeing them through, executing on them to deliver real, measurable profit to the bottom line. So let's dig into that second one first, value realization. Look, executives aren't hiring black belts just to sit around and analyze stuff. No way. They're hired to deliver. The whole point of the Six Sigma philosophy, if you really boil it down, is to run projects that make a real, measurable dent in the company's finances. It's all about turning those abstract ideas about process improvement into cold, hard cash. And we're not talking about small potatoes here. This impact is huge. Take a look at this number, 143 grand. So where does a number like that come from? Well, this comes from a real-world case study. It's the total yearly savings that a single city government made from one Six Sigma project, just one. They saved $90,000 on supplies and then tacked on another $53,000 in efficiency gains. That is value realization. It's not theoretical, it's tangible, you can prove it, and that right there is what justifies the big paycheck. And this just perfectly captures the whole mindset, doesn't it? A black belt isn't just another employee on the payroll. They're not a cost center. They're a profit center. They're what you call a self-funding professional. Their salary isn't an expense, it's an investment. And it's an investment that pays for itself, often many, many times over. So how in the world do they pull this off? Well, it all starts with pillar number one, solving problems with structure. You see, when a crisis hits, most people kind of panic and just wing it. A black belt? Nope. They have a framework for everything. And that trusty framework is called DMAIC. You can think of it as their roadmap for getting results. No matter how chaotic things get, they always start at the same place, define. They get super clear on what the problem actually is. Then they measure. They have to know where they're starting from, right? Get that baseline. After that comes the really fun part, analyze. This is where they dive deep into the data to find the real root cause, not just the stuff you see on the surface. Once they've nailed that down, they can finally improve the process with a laser-focused solution. And last but not least, they put controls in place. This makes sure the fix actually sticks and the problem doesn't creep back in a few months. It's the step-by-step method that creates predictable outcomes. And let me tell you, corporations love predictability. All right, that brings us to our second pillar, which builds right on top of the first. See, it's one thing to have a structured plan, but it's another thing entirely to have the proof to back it up. This is all about winning arguments with data. Just imagine this scene. You're in a meeting and everyone's pointing fingers about why defect rates are suddenly through the roof. One manager is blaming the new team members, another is saying the equipment is old. It's just a mess of opinions. Then the black belt walks up and puts a simple chart on the screen. And just like that, silence. The data clearly shows a link between the speed of the line and the number of defects. Debate over? The data just ended it, instantly. That's the power we're talking about. It gives you total command of the conversation. Okay, that's a pretty clear-cut example. But what about when the cause of a problem is weird? Like something completely out of left field that nobody would even think of? This next story is one of my absolute favorites. So there was this massive scallop shortage along the US East Coast. The obvious culprits, right? Pollution, overfishing. Everyone was convinced that was it. But then the data people got involved, and they uncovered this wild, fishy tale. It turns out the overfishing of large sharks led to an explosion in the population of their main prey, cownose rays. And guess what cownose rays absolutely love to snack on? Yep, scallops. It had nothing to do with pollution. That's the incredible power of data. It reveals the truth even when the truth sounds like something out of a nature documentary. And all of this leads us to the third pillar. And honestly, it's the one that most people completely forget about. Because you can have the most perfect plan and the most convincing data in the world, but if you can't get the people on board, none of it matters. Nothing will ever change. This is about leading people, not just managing projects. One of the source books had this, let's say, memorable way of describing the people you deal with on any big project. On one side, you've got your winners. These are the folks who are excited about the change, they're positive, they're ready to go. But then, on the other side, you have what the book calls terrorists. Now, these are the people who are negative. They might have their own hidden agenda, and they can be actively trying to sabotage your project. The real job of a black belt is to navigate that minefield. So here's the crucial takeaway. This role is so much more than just being a technical expert. A black belt has to be a leader. They're the one running interference, shielding the team from all the corporate politics. They're a teacher, an advocate, a diplomat. They're the ones who have to navigate all that resistance to change and keep the executives in the loop. These so-called soft skills are the secret ingredient that turns a brilliant analysis on a spreadsheet into a real successful change in the organization. Okay, so let's bring it all home. We're going to tie all three of these pillars together and come back to that really powerful concept we started with, the black belt as a self-funding professional. See, it's not just one of these things. It's the potent combination of all three. You've got the structure of a framework like DMAIC, you add the undeniable authority that comes from using data, and you top it all off with the leadership skills to actually make change happen with real people. That's the trifecta. That's what makes a black belt so incredibly valuable. And at the end of the day, here's what it all comes down to. The certificate on the wall, that's not the point. The real value is in a brain that has been fundamentally rewired, refined by logic. It's about having a new way of seeing the world that lets you cut through all the operational chaos and find a clear, logical path to creating real, bottom-line results. So that leaves us with one last question for you. Are you ready to make a change? To stop starting your sentences with, well, I kind of feel like, and start them with, the data shows? Are you ready to make that leap from relying on a gut feeling to truly commanding a room with data-driven authority?